Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to show you how you can make HTTP patch API call using the RETROFIT2. So in my last video I have shown you how you can make the HTTP post with the retrofit along with while we use the MVVM. So in this video along with the MVVM I'm going to show you how you can make get API call first, then get the data displayed on the added tags, and then we'll change something in that data, and then we'll make the patch API call while updating the same record on the database. So for that I have already I have the project, my last project, where we make the post API call and created one record in a database. So this is the URL in my last video we call, and this is the function where we are returning the retrofit instance, and the logging, we enable the logging just to show you. And this is the post API call where we need some headers. We have the create user function, we pass some body parameter and the response we got. And we created a view model in my last video, and then there we created a mutable live data observer which we are observing on a activity, and then we create a separate function which is taking a user object, and then we make the API call and create a user. This is the activity from where we initialize our view model, and then we set up an observer while creating a user, and in case of failed or success we display a toast message. So and here we getting the data which is user is entering, and on button click we are building a user object and calling this view model function. So this is how it look like. Let me create a user so that we can use this user and edit it while making the patch call, and then we'll perform some operations on this data. So I'm creating this user now. So you can see successfully created this user, and let me show you inside the logs so that we can get the user ID. So here is the URL, here is the response. So 201 means created, and here we see 200 okay, and here is the request data which we are sending. You see now here is 200, you see, and here is the response. So let's copy this response because it has the ID as well, and we need this ID while making the patch call. So let me update my last response. So we'll use this 1713 ID while making the API call. So this is the ID we will be using. And let me show you how this data look like. So this is the URL which we are going to hit. So it is going to return us this object with the updated data. So this record is already created in the database. So now first of all we'll create a get. We'll make the get API call for the same data, and we'll get it and display it on the screen, and then we'll make the patch API call. So first of all we need the user ID which I show you 1713. So that user ID will be passing it to the URL as I show you on a Chrome. And the response is going to be the same. So this portion, this have user and the ID. So first we'll pass user, and then we'll pass the ID dynamically, which is going to coming from the activity. So we'll use the user underscore ID, same name. And along with that, we need headers to pass it. So we'll copy all the header from the post API and just simply paste it. I show you how we use this authorization, how we got this authorization bearer in my last video. I show you. And now I'll creating another function which is patch. So this function will call on the button click while we are updating the record. So let me create this function, and same way we'll call this path, and then user ID will pass to update the same record. Along with the body parameter means user object. So that user object will be holding some parameters like name, email, active, and the status, and the gender. URL will be remain same. Also header is going to be the same. So our retro interface is ready now. So it's time to move to our view model, and we'll define all these functions over there. So first thing, we need to define a mutable live data to load data. So since we are making first the API call, get API call, get the user data and display it on UI. So we need to declare it and then initialize, and then I'll create a separate function for it. Just to set up the observer in our activity, in our main activity. And now I'll create another function, separate function for that. And that will call load user data. And it will take simply the user ID. And we'll simply copy this, how we get the retro service object. And then this, I think, whole block we should copy. And instead of create user, we'll simply call get user, and then we'll pass this user ID. And we'll use this load user data observer, same here, same here. So it's simple, and this will call the get function of our API. And I'll create another function that is to update the user data. So that function needs the user ID along with the user object, and we'll call that update user. Along with, we'll pass it to the user. And here we need to change this to create new user observer. This is just to display the toast message when we are updating a record. Inside our main activity, we need to, first of all, as I show you, we need to load data first. So we'll create a separate function, load user data. And inside this function, we'll simply call view model. So view model is already initialized because view model is called from the onCreate, and then we'll get our load user observer. Everything will remain same, so we don't need to display toss. We'll set our receive data in our text views. So if it is null, no, let's do it. If it is not null, then we'll set the name inside our edit text. So it.data.name should be name. Yep. And same way, edit text mail will set the email. So as soon as activity will load, it will make the get API call and get the name and email, and then set it on the edit text. And then we'll simply call load user data function. So this is the observer, and then this is the function which is going to actually make the API call, and this function need a ID, user ID. So we'll pass it. So for this video, I'm just simply hard coding these user ID, and on button click, I'll be calling this update user function, and I'm passing ID inside our user object and the API call as well. And this update user function will call it instead of create user, we'll call this time update user. Now that's it, I think. So load user data we haven't called, let's call this as well. So now create user is no more useful for us in this video, so we'll call it simply update user function. Let's run and see. So as soon as we make the API call, we are able to download that data and set it in the edit view. So let's update the existing record inside our database. So I'm adding few more digits, similarly in email as well, and let me call update user. So it's successfully updated. Let me close and open. There you go. So we are able to see the updated record now. Let me update it one more time and save it. It's updated now, and we can see inside the logs as well. So you can see this is the request we sent, and this is the response. We are able to see it updated, and here is the URL which we built, and this is the patch API call. So guys, that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any question, you can ask me in the comment section. Thank you.